Hey now, it's the Rob alongside of my cane-swinging colleague, Eric Cornish.
Just like that.
Don't
Jasper, watch out. It's not done between you.
This is a cool cross-station video that we do, WKDQ, 106.1 KISS FM. We are the Enhancement talent. If you watched the above video, that was Steve, one of our regular viewers, and he shared his video about he became a wrestling fan, about how he became a wrestling fan. And the one thing that I took away from that video, Eric, my God, that room he was standing in. I found out from our showbiz lunch, that is a room in his house. That wasn't the toy aisle of a Toys R Us.
That's amazing.
That's like a closet of his.
If I was that organized, I could probably do something similar. Your apartment's not bad.
I was going to say, please give me some credit here for being a 30-year-old man with an apartment like that.
Yeah, yours is pretty good with the posters and all the videos. So.
I have bookshelves of videotapes. I have wrestling posters. On my bed, I have the Ultimate Warrior and the Randy Savage wrestling buddies dangling. So I'm very proud of this.
That might be a future edition of the Enhancement talent.
My room?
The Rob Cribs.
Cribs the Rob.
Yeah, there we go. This is going to be harder for me because I cannot actually tell you when I became a wrestling fan, but I can tell you things from my earlier days. I became a wrestling fan obviously much earlier than you did in life. And for me, my dad was a big wrestling fan, and really his, I think it was great aunt who I knew as a kid. I mean, she was up in her 80s and 90s. Apparently, she was a huge fan and took him to events.
That's funny. I found out late in life, long after my great-grandmother had died, that she was a big wrestling fan. And my grandmother tells me a story about how she would never miss her, quote, gorgeous George.
Oh, nice.
I'm being very serious. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, I know who that is.
Yeah, apparently in her younger days, before I was around, this aunt would get down on the floor and just go crazy about, if the little people were on, wrestling, or if any of the Native Americans. See, we have to be so political these days. Native Americans and little people. I'm sure that's what they called them back then when she was watching. She also used some great choice words that I cannot say on this show either.
And of course,
I've heard the stories.
When my grandmother told me about her mother, I was like, I know Gorgeous George. She's got a great rack.
Yeah, right. Not that one.
I know.
But anyway, my first memory of watching wrestling, and this is, it happened somewhere after WrestleMania 3, is what I can gather from my memories as a child. And I do remember trying to stay up and watch the Saturday night's main event where Hulk Hogan lost to Andre the Giant with the twin referees.
Back when you had to negotiate with your parents to stay up late.
Exactly. And I remember, I think I was at my grandparents' house that night, so they're more likely to let you stay up late on a Saturday night to watch. And I do remember that. I do remember the referee controversy, and as a kid, kind of understanding like what's going on.
Sure.
What is happening. And of course, I remember a lot of Memphis wrestling as well because my dad, would watch Memphis wrestling every single Saturday morning. You'd see Jerry Lawler, you'd see Dutch Mantell, Bill Dundee, and all those guys. So that was, that was a lot of, and they came to Louisville Gardens, which I grew up in Louisville. So, every Tuesday night they were there. They were always, Lance Russell would talk about Tuesday night at the Gardens. I never did go though. Never went on a Tuesday night. Never was able to go.
That's one of my confessions. I grew up in Philly. I was a wrestling fan during the ECW boom. I've been to the ECW arena. I've never seen ECW there.
Yeah, so it was a weird time. That I don't know why I never went, but I became more of a fan of WWF at the time. My dad was also a big fan of the Saturday Night 605. Before it was called WCW Saturday Night, it was just World Championship Wrestling for the NWA. That was a big deal too. So he was more of a fan of that. Of Memphis and that. I was more of the WWF. It was more characters that appealed to young kids. Yeah. But I would still watch all of it. So that's kind of how I became a fan. And then we talked about the show that I was a part of yesterday, last night, and somehow in my radio career I've been able to get my way into several different shows over the years and kind of become involved. I've been on shows with Hall of Famers like Coco Beware, like Greg the Hammer Valentine. I've actually put on a show myself at one time. Probably be the first and only time I've ever done that, but promoted a show myself in Tennessee with Jerry the King Lawler and with like the Rock and Roll Express and Kid Cash and PG-13. So that was a lot of fun too. So that's kind of like my kind of like my playtime now. Is if I can be a part of that and let those guys do what they do, you know, and if I can help out, I will try.
You mentioned Saturday Night's Main Event earlier
Yes.
on, and while I wasn't around for when they were what they were, I wasn't a wrestling fan yet. And they've had some offshoot Saturday Night's Main Event system, but those don't count. One of the neat things about those, because of their time slot, was they were kind of reverse booked in that you started with the main event, you didn't build to one, and you kind of wind down.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting how that works. And I mean, they did that a lot back in the day. Of course, you know, Hogan always wanted to get to the hotel as soon as he could, but those were taped, and I think you didn't have the internet, so it's not like it is today.
I mean, because they would start at 11:30 Eastern, right when SNL would usually be starting. So I mean, you're going to lose your audience come midnight, you know. So putting it on first makes a lot of sense, and then the serious fans can stick around for the Hart Foundation and the Rockers.
Right, and you just you can't have anything like that anymore unless it's live, I guess, and it just, I mean. The whole presentation of it, from the music to the graphics to the, you know, here is, you know, you'd have the Hart Foundation graphic and the Demolition graphic, and it was.
And they start with all the promos in your face, like Survivor Series.
Yeah, they'd have the promo, and then you go backstage with Mean Gene, and you'd have the cool, classy curtain behind you. I mean, there was something about the Saturday Night's Main Event that was just so special. And I wish there was something like that back again, but I don't think just the way the wrestling business is structured today, you can do that.
I mean, even now you couldn't even be in a building at midnight.
No,
you know, so you wouldn't be able to do one of those live. But
yeah,
stuff like that. And you know what? I think that the network opens up possibilities for stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, like let's just say in the days when pay-per-view is now behind us, which will happen soon.
Right.
What's to stop a show from going 15 minutes over on pay-per-views?
That's true.
You know?
That's true. Yeah, especially on the network, you can kind of do those things. But you know, it's like we talked about. I grew up watching the pay-per-views. Occasionally, don't come and get me. We had one of those illegal things that we could connect to the back of the TV from time to time. I know you said the same thing.
Yeah.
As we mentioned in the last episode, I sat in my garage watching a black and white TV that was about this big, and you could turn the dial one way. Yes, a dial. Kids, if you don't know, TVs used to have them, and you could turn it one way and see the entire picture, or I could turn it the other way and hear the entire audio. And so I remember when Undertaker debuted at Survivor Series, it must have been 30 degrees outside, and I've got a blanket, and I'm in the garage watching this TV, and I see him come out, and you know I still remember that to this day. But anyway, so that's kind of some of my wrestling history, my background, and we love to hear how you became a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
If you could let us know, send us a video or just an email, and if you have any questions, any comments on anything we do, there is the information for both of us, and we appreciate you watching. Once again, this is